I had technical difficulty. For some reason, uh, the wireless, the route, something's wrong with the router. So I had to go and had that corrected. So I'm back. Hopefully, everything is going to be okay, and I can do this commentary. Well, it's September the 2nd right now as we speak. 10:03 p.m. And I am happy to say that there was a U.S. Senate primary race in Massachusetts between Ed Markey, who is the incumbent U.S. Senator, and Congressman Joe Kennedy of the 4th Congressional District in Massachusetts. That Ed Markey defeated Joe Kennedy in that race. And that's a very, very good thing. As I said, Ed Markey was the incumbent, and Joe Kennedy challenged to try to unseat Ed Markey. Why? I can't really see any reason other than he's freaking entitled in his mindset because of the Kennedy brand and the Kennedy name. And for all the good there was throughout these years with the Kennedy family, they hit a low with Joe. He ain't, in 1988 when Vice Presidential candidate Lloyd Bentsen and Vice Presidential candidate Dan Quayle were debating, dumb prick Dan Quayle basically compared himself to John F. Kennedy. While I wasn't the biggest fan of Lloyd Bentsen in the world, he was totally justified to say, I knew Jack Kennedy. He was a friend of mine. Senator, you're no Jack Kennedy. Hey, it applies to Joe Kennedy too in the year 2020. He's no Jack Kennedy. Anyway, because he's all ego and because his name was Kennedy, therefore, I'm going to go and take that Senate seat. And it was an entitlement mentality. And when you operate ideologically under the premise of ego, you're going to go and sell your soul. And that's kind of that kind of described Joe Kennedy in a nutshell. So anyway, Joe Kennedy, I mean, really, where does he stand on issues? Well, I know where Ed Markey stands. Now, Ed Markey is not the most perfect model Democrat around. But having that said, Bernie Sanders, who is my favorite U.S. Senator in the U.S. Senate, wish we had more people like Bernie Sanders all over the country. While he's not a Democrat, he's an independent that obviously ran in the Democratic primaries in 2016 and 2020. He's my favorite senator. But who comes close, or who's like a runner up in the U.S. Senate as far as senators that would even be anywhere in the ballpark as awesome as Bernie Sanders? Well, I'm going to narrow it down to three people. Two of them are from Massachusetts. We'll start with Senator Sherrod Brown of Ohio. Very pro-labor, very much a progressive. Um, almost as good as Bernie Sanders as far as the voting record, but obviously not Bernie Sanders. And I would say that the other two would be U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren and U.S. Senator Ed Markey, both with the same state, Massachusetts. Those three, Sherrod Brown, Elizabeth Warren, and Ed Markey, pretty much vote as similar to Bernie Sanders as anyone could be in that chamber. So I would say they're probably the four most left-wing voices in that chamber in the U.S. Senate. Well, Ed Markey introduced Medicare for all in the U.S. Senate, has backed it. He introduced the Green New Deal, and it have also introduced UBI, Universal Basic Income. And if you're a Democrat and you're sincere in your support for the Universal Basic Income, the Green New Deal, and in particular, Medicare for All, you are a Democrat that I would be proud to support. I'm going to put it this way: Ed Markey is not a Bill and Hillary Clinton Democrat. And when I say that there's a Democrat that is not a Bill and Hillary Democrat, that is a compliment to that person. Because as far as I'm concerned, within the modern day Democratic Party, there is nothing worse than being a Bill and Hillary Clinton Democrat who basically turned the Democratic Party to garbage with the party moving away from New Deal liberalism and moving more toward corporatism. Anyway, you have to look at the endorsements. Joe Kennedy ran, and who endorsing him? Well, the late John Lewis, who might be probably the best of all the people that endorsed him. I would say that maybe he's a mixed bag. John Lewis's fault is that he supported Hillary Clinton over Bernie Sanders in 2016, supported Joe Biden over Bernie Sanders in 2020. But he was always a supporter of single payer Medicare for all, and in a lot of ways he's been a very good social democratic ideologue, at least, and maybe not in theories but in practice, in his basic positions. So John Lewis was a good man. He was closer to a Martin Luther King than he was to, let's say, a Barack Obama in terms of being somebody who was an icon for basically a standard bearer for social change. Beto O'Rourke, he ran against Ted Cruz in 2018. No brainer. Beto O'Rourke was not perfect, but he was awesome compared to Ted Cruz. But he sucked as a presidential candidate, and he was one of the supporters of Joe Kennedy in the primaries. Julian Castro, I know he ran for president in the 2020 primaries, but he really didn't say anything. So I don't know where he stands. To me, he's just a career politician. And Nancy Pelosi is the problem. So Nancy Pelosi is the problem with the Democratic Party right now. And she's horrible, and she supported Joe Kennedy. So as I said, I mean, getting the endorsement of Pelosi, O'Rourke, and Castro tells me that such a candidate is garbage. Having the endorsement of John Lewis, well, John Lewis was a good man, so he'll be the only reason I would be open-minded about Joe Kennedy. But I know Joe Kennedy is a horrible candidate. Let's see. Who endorsed Ed Markey? Obviously, fellow U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York. She went out of her way to endorse Ed Markey. So with an AOC Liz Warren endorsement, that's kind of good enough. But then there were some shockers of Democratic politicians that I don't care for that back Ed Markey. But since they decided to back Ed Markey, I may think slightly better of them. And that would be Cory Booker of New Jersey and Chuck Schumer of New York. Still can't stand Chuck Schumer. Still can't stand election results. And the election results was Ed Markey got 55.4% of the vote, approximately 765,96 votes. Joe Kennedy got 44.6% of the vote, which basically was 616,500. So in terms of the Ed Markey victory, and considering that, especially the Elizabeth Warren and AOC endorsement, that's a victory for the left. Now, I do have a problem with the fact that Bernie Sanders sat this one out, and I know why he did, because Ed Markey didn't endorse him for president. So in the primaries, and I understand Bernie Sanders might be a little hurt over this, but you know what? He needed to go and swallow. He needed to swallow his fucking pride and get behind Ed Markey. Um, this is still a victory for the left. It means that the corporate Democrats, they think they can just walk over the left, and the left is trying to say, "Hey, we're not having it." Now it's a mixed bag, and there's going to be elections where the left is going to be defeated and the corporate Democrats are going to be in charge. Then there's going to be other areas where the left is going to beat out the diet Republicans, I call the corporate Democrats, and that's how you have to look at it. So I mean, it's almost a foregone conclusion at this point. Ed Markey is going to be reelected to the U.S. Senate, and I am happy about that. And as I said, it's just good news. I know I'm a little long-winded at times and everything. It's just in my nature, but this. I just wanted to share with y'all my take on this. So anyway, if you like what you heard, press like or dislike. Comment either way. If you like, dislike, comment, subscribe, share the content, please. By all means, share. And even more important, probably the most important thing of all, subscribe to this channel. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. And it's my duty to say, as a free speech absolutist, that if you have a platform and you feel passionate about something, go ahead and utilize it. And utilize it, because we are the muckrakers of our time. And until next time, peace, and Bernie Sanders for president in the year 2024. And no, I wasn't kidding when I said that.